This is Remnants. I'm Emily.
And I'm Kayla.
Turn on your nightlight.
Pour something strong.
You'll be up long after the story is done.
What are we bringing? Wait, what do we have stuff to talk about?
Oh yeah, we're doing small talk. We did kind of forget to talk about, like, the journey we went on trying to get our new mic to work today.
Oh my gosh, yes, please take us on that journey.
Oh my god, it was like a series of unfortunate events. We're so excited. We're not using it yet, but we got, like, this Rode, I think that's how you pronounce it, like, mic that's supposed to be really good. And I'm sure it is, but it's so good that it's not USB, it's an XLR. And I just assumed it would come with the mic, because it was really...
Or come with the cord.
Yes, that the cord would come with the mic.
It did come with the mic.
See, I'm already way ahead. I assumed that the mic would come with the cord, but it didn't. And we opened it up today, all excited to get set up. We're like, we're going to do a photo shoot. We're going to do all this to show up our new setup, which the setup is really adorable. But we open it, and we're like, there's no fucking cord with this mic. What do we do?
And it's like an XLR cord, so it's not just... You don't just necessarily run to go get that. Like,
yeah, we learned that.
Yeah.
So we call my boyfriend because he streams. I'm like, hey, do you have an XLR cord by any chance? And he's like, oh, what now? So we're like triaging this. He's on a freaking chat with some guy.
Well, he had the brilliant idea.
Yeah.
He's like, what about Guitar Center? And
we're
like, oh my god, duh.
Yeah.
It didn't even like cross my mind to go there.
Yeah, so like he's on chat with these people on speaker. We're driving to go to Target. We find an XLR. We get that. Kayla throws it at me. She's like, you want this? Tosses it on the ground.
My hands just left out of my hands.
Well, shortly after that, while on checkout, I'm looking at my keys because I usually have my wallet on my keys, and I'm like, I don't have a wallet. I had driven there. I'm like, sorry, you gotta get it, Kayla. So I leave her to pay for the expensive thing and a Pokemon magazine.
For her child. She claims.
Yeah, well, I really like crosswords about Pikachu. So I trace our steps back through Target, don't find a wallet. I'm thinking, you know what, let's just call to see if I left it at home. Luckily I did, so I have to bribe my boyfriend to bring it to me. I probably didn't have to bribe him. He would have done it anyways, but give him Taco Bell, all the things. Before then, we go to Guitar Center because we only found the XLR at Target.
But obviously you can't plug an XLR into my laptop.
Right.
So
can't plug it into fucking anything. That's under $700 apparently.
Yeah.
So then we go to Guitar Center, and then we're like, wow.
This place is amazing.
We're just like, look at all those recorders and the wires.
And sound mixing boards.
We're realizing, like, we are nerding out at this for all the wrong reasons. Like, all these people are musicians, and we're like, I can't believe all the ghosts we can talk to with these. So we think, what we need, and we're all excited. We're like, this is great idea. We did it.
I signed up for an account at Guitar Center, so I'm like, I'm gonna freaking be back here.
Yeah. Then we get back to Kayla's place. We eat Taco Bell. We're victorious. We're like, wow, we're the smartest. We know what to do. We're gonna plug it in. It's all gonna be great. We get back into the recording room. We take it all out, and then we realize that all of our cords are male.
We only have gay cords.
And apparently gay sex does not make the sound work. Apparently, I've never been on the news before. Apparently,
you can't plug a male into a male.
Well, you can.
You can, but not in the cable world.
No, anal sex does not make sound.
Nope. Actually, do they even call those cords? Do they still call them male and female?
I don't know. I've always been so uncomfortable.
I have too. Like when I worked at the news station in college, I was like, oh, I need the male to male cord, or I need the male to female cord, and I was like, oh,
when we were talking about it, I was looking at him and I was like, so is it male because the prongs go in? Is that what makes it a male? And this is the female? Why can't we find any females? We've got a lot of penises.
There were so many
vaginas.
Yeah, we need more vaginas.
We need more vaginas.
We only bought penises.
The penises are way easier to find at Target.
And Guitar Center.
It was actually the last penis at Target.
It was. Anyways, so we're back to using
That's the story. Got
old
my
Mike,
wallet.
but he is suspended upside down.
Yep, he's wearing a little condom.
Out of context, this makes no sense.
We've kind of, I don't know if it's me doing it or if it's both of us, but for some reason microphones got really sexual today.
They're phallic looking.
Especially with this hat.
Especially with the hat. Like, it's just...
And especially with it just hanging. Can we get, like, a pair of balls to put right into it?
Like, what do you call when the audio, the booms? Like, the little booms.
Yeah, they're booms, all right.
The little boom booms. This is what happens when you record at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, you'd think we'd been drinking, but no, just the bah-ha-ha-ha blast.
I had the Pepsi.
So I think that's it on the small talk. I'm afraid of going much further.
Yeah, I think we've confused you enough. Are you still with us?
Yeah, if you're not, I understand. We'll just...
We know when you drop off, though. I'm watching you.
Yeah, and she scribbles all the names down in this little journal, and then she adds the journal to her altar that she has in her little pink room. Mm-hmm. And then every full moon, she plunges them into a full jar of corrupted holy water, and she banishes you in backwards Latin.
Definitely. So you've been warned.
Don't drop off. I don't know where she sends people to. She's like that kid in the Twilight Zone that when people were mean to him, she sent them to the cornfield. That's Kayla.
Go take a hike in that cornfield.
Forever. You want to be my friend? Bye, bitch. Wow. Okay. So you ready for a story?
I am ready for a story.
I purposely did not tell Kayla about this because I'd never heard of it before, so I was really excited.
Ooh.
So we're just gonna get roll into it. We're gonna see what happens. It's 1987 in small-town America. Tides are turning in the U.S. Reagan and Gorbachev have signed the Intermediate-Range Nuclear Treaty, calming the ever-looming fear of nuclear fallout. Satanic panic is sweeping the nation, leading concerned families to see devils in even the most innocent media. Windows 2.0 was born, edging its way towards the technological boom of the dying 1900s. For now, bleeding-edge tech looks like cassettes hissing, tapes knotted from too many rewinds. Landlines crackle and sputter, conversations tinged with the quiet fear that someone has picked up the other line and is listening. Weighty camcorders hoisted atop your shoulder to record yet another school recital through a grainy viewfinder. A little show called Unsolved Mysteries airs its first episode on October 15th. You tune in, safe from the perilous tales told beneath your fuzzy television set. Your life is made of quieter things. Your family is cut from the same cloth of Full House, simple and full of laughter. A lifetime of hard work is just paid off and you're moving your wife and 3 children into a new house. But not just any new house, a brand new home built only a couple years before. It's finally your time to live the rural Americana dream in tiny Horicon, Wisconsin, a swampy slice of Midwest heaven better known for marshes than people. Your family can make itself a name in a cozy population of 3,000 and form a community. You think you've done what's best for your children. You think you've kept them safe. But then you buy a bunk bed from a secondhand store and gradually, like paint peeling from a slow drip of water, your definition of normal starts to crumble. You don't know it yet, but someday soon, another unassuming small-town American family will be watching you on Unsolved Mysteries. Season 3, Episode 1, to be exact. First aired October 26, 1988. This is a ghost story that doesn't come with a house, or with a person. This is a story of how things we take with us can sometimes bring the greatest darkness. This is the haunting of the Tallman Bunk beds.
In early February of 1987, Alan and Debbie Tallman brought home a bunk bed they had purchased at a secondhand furniture shop.
Get that, partner?
They assembled the bed and stored it in their basement.
Right, didn't we?
When the bunk bed was moved upstairs, it marked the beginning of 9 months of horror for the Tallmans. From the moment the bed was first slept in, the house appeared to be haunted by spirits that terrorized first the children, then the entire family.
So Alan and Debbie Tallman are your everyday blue-collar couple. They're practical, logical, not the sort of people to believe that every weird bump in the night is the result of the paranormal. Alan is a shift supervisor at a local plant, and Debbie is a stay-at-home mom. They're a church-going family with strong connection to religion. Debbie, in particular, was a devout Christian. They have 3 kids whose names have not been provided in real life, so, they're actually trying to protect their kids. For the sake of our narrative and what they called them in the Unsolved Mysteries episode, we'll call them Danny, which is the boy, he's about 11 years old. Marianne, the girl, second girl, age 7. And then Sarah, who's the youngest, and she's anywhere between 1 and 2 as the story goes on. I think the wife was pregnant with her when they first moved in.
Okay.
So their new house is a charming single-family ranch that neighbors farmland and the outer edges of the Horicon Marsh, which is kind of interesting. I don't think of marshes when I think of Wisconsin, but
no.
Apparently this area is known for marshes and wetlands and stuff, which is kind of interesting. So this house itself is totally unassuming. It's beige and brown with a white one-car garage out front. You wouldn't pick it in a lineup of America's Most Haunted. It kind of just screams like frozen dinners on TV trays, not supernatural dread. Yeah. Very basic. They first move into the house on South Larrabee Street in Horicon, Wisconsin on April 13th, 1986. Debbie is still pregnant when they first move in, and during the inspection, no traces of asbestos or any other toxic materials were found. Which is good for what happens later on. Yeah. Nice to rule that out.
Yeah. Because it was a new build, right?
Yeah, it was maybe 5 years old.
Yeah.
But it's not the house or the land that cause a change in the Tallman family's life. It's furniture. And not like IKEA, because I felt like my life was haunted by IKEA furniture sometimes.
Yeah.
Never
again.
Yeah. I have broken many an IKEA for a piece of...
it doesn't take much.
So, needing to furnish Marianne and Sarah's shared room, Alan and Debbie visit a local secondhand shop and find the perfect steal, a used bunk bed. What kid doesn't want a bunk bed? I even had one growing up, and I didn't have any siblings young enough to share it with.
And I always wanted one. I thought they were cool.
So, I do like them, but I think I should have known early on that bunk beds were kind of evil, because my friends Kirsty and Katie had bunk beds when they used to have a shared room as kids, and this thing must have also been secondhand, because it was I remember it just being a dark wood. I remember it feeling really rough, wrong way you get splinters and stuff.
God.
And all 3 of us, me, Kirsty, and Katie, were jumping on the top. And I think this girl, who probably wasn't really that old, but she seemed really old at the time, who used to babysit them, she was their neighbor, she was at the bottom. And we were jumping on it. It might have actually been Katie at the bottom, now that I'm thinking of it. Me and Kirsty were on top jumping. I don't know which organization. All I know is I was on top jumping with people, and the whole bunk bed collapsed and fell on top of whoever was still at the bottom.
Oh my God.
And our parents were out watching football, because they always did that every Monday. So we just collapsed on top of them, and we're like, oh my God, we killed her! And we run out of there the bed collapsed, she's dead! Everybody was fine, but it was very scary. I think
that would be quite traumatizing.
I think there might have been some small cuts and scratches, but we survived. I don't know what the parents heard, just this crashing and just small children screaming. And they had this terrifying bulldog at the time. So his name was Sherman. I remember he was just we're just she's gonna kill us. The bed tried to kill us. We're gonna die.
Everything's killing us.
So yeah, I think bunk beds might actually just be evil, but maybe not as evil as this one. Anyways, so whether or not bunk beds are all low-key cursed, the Tallmans quickly learned that they got more than they bargained for with this discount steal. Once the bed is assembled and placed into the girls' room, strange things start happening. The activity starts in the room next door, actually, though, where Danny sleeps. So it starts with this little radio clock he had. I think his parents gave it to him. It's just one of the ones that you can... it's an old-fashioned clock. I'm almost struggling to remember it. You just turn the dials to get the radio station. Yeah. So it starts with the radio kind of cycling through stations by itself, which you kind of think, okay, could be a wiring thing, whatever. Yeah. But then Danny actually sees the dial knob turning. It's not just moving, he sees the dial turning. And
Nope.
yeah, but like when it's happening, he's just hearing like this. Like it's just
It's like spirit box.
yeah, it is. That's literally what it is. It'd be so
My
scary.
son, he came running out in the living room, and he says, "But Mom and Dad," he says, "I seen it. The dial moved." He said the indicator went from one side to the radio to the other, and we kind of looked at each other and says, "Well, if you're going to have a fit with the radio and cause this kind of ruckus, we'll just take the radio out."
So you can see, like, the family did their best to deny stuff was happening for a while.
Sure.
So, and I could see, like, if that were happening in my kid's room, I would probably just take the radio out, too. I'd assume, okay, there's something wrong with it. It's broken.
Yeah.
But do you feel like a wiring issue could cause, like, the knob to turn?
No. But then you probably like, what, he's like 7, you're probably like, is he really seeing it move, or is that
Right.
just, you know,
Right, like, oh,
the kid's
he's just messing with us.
it.
Yeah.
So we'll just take it out.
Yeah, which I guess is kind of sad that adults just assume, like, oh, the kid's just making it up or
Yeah.
being dramatic. We'll take it out.
Yeah.
So, kind of following this sort of small bit of activity, the kids and even Alan start falling ill frequently, like a lot of ear infections and just fevers and things like that. They wonder if it's something rotten in the house, like mold or natural gas, but like if we mentioned earlier, it passed the inspection and there wasn't anything wrong.
Yeah.
They even mentioned like the family kitten acting weird, like she would run around the house like crazy, and it's just kind of like a cat. But I guess she would like throw herself at the wall or like jump into stuff and try to get away, just kind of like really
Just
erratic.
A little odd,
Yeah.
odd behavior.
The Tallmans weren't easily frightened though. They tended to brush off the occurrences, which kind of made things ramp up even more.
Yeah, actually.
Just like, oh, we're gonna brush it off.
Well, then I guess I need to be
I
louder.
need to do more to get your attention.
Yeah.
So, in the daughter's shared room where the bunk bed is, they had a suitcase which allegedly was stored under a bed. And apparently one night when the girls were trying to sleep, the bunk bed flew out from under the bed.
Wait, the suitcase.
Did I say the bunk bed?
Yeah. I was like, whoa!
Where did the bunk bed fly? Rewind! The suitcase flew out from under the bed and then flew back under right into the spot.
Ooh.
And
Well, at least it put itself back.
it did. It was very polite.
Very cool.
So Marion and Sarah ran out of the room in terror, which is where I'm questioning, like, how old is Sarah? She must be like 2 if she's running, or she's
Running.
Marion's just driving her behind. Come on,
Come on,
sister!
babe! At least she didn't leave her behind.
True. I'd be like, see ya, bitch.
every person for themselves.
Yeah, every child, you deal with that flying suitcase. But yeah, they came and woke up the parents, and you know, the parents were like, you know, fuck it, we took a radio, we're taking the suitcase. No radio, no suitcase. That'll fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where that little occurrence ended. Alan and Debbie assumed that they were nightmares and overactive imaginations, and they moved on. So you take away the problem items and the problems disappear, right?
I'm gonna guess not.
Yeah. So it was the summer of 1987 when the girls began speaking of a figure in their room. More shadow than woman, the entity would crawl out of a black mass in the corner of their bedroom and stand watching them. They described her as a witch with haunting red eyes. The witch would lurk in the shadow behind the closed door, mouth opening and closing with unheard whispers. All 3 children began falling ill frequently, their health declining with the rising activity. Sleep became difficult, both girls too frightened to sleep in their room for fear of the witch. So, that's not good.
No. And you know, like back then, like the kids would come out and just go back in your room and go to sleep, you know, like.
And I did hear someone bring up like an interesting comment that sounded a lot like sleep paralysis. Like,
Which,
but with like both kids.
I don't know, yeah, that's.
And a lot of the reports were of the 2-year-old talking about the witch too. So it's like, I guess 2-year-olds can get sleep paralysis, but where is she coming up with that image?
Right, like.
I guess if she'd seen a movie, maybe, but then it's like, I don't know. And with a kid that age, she's gonna have such limited vocabulary that she must have just known witch scary. Like, it's just a scary woman, I'll call it a witch.
Which, right, because.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting. So, it's easy for Debbie and Alan to still dismiss this activity. Electronics are finicky, kids have nightmares. But one day, Alan is outside doing yard work. The garage is open while he goes in and out. He has his back to the garage when he hears a voice calling his name, almost like mocking him. He turns around and he sees nothing. So he's spooked, but he just decides he's tired. The kids haven't been sleeping, and he hasn't really been either. So he supposes it's normal to imagine things during these conditions. Which, like, even you have mentioned that you've been woken up mid-nap from someone, like, yelling in your ear. And you're like, oh,
That's weird.
So you can make a face, but I know you've done it.
I guess it's what you do to, like, for your own sanity, I guess. You're like, oh, that's weird. All right, moving on.
Which I think is a lot of this story. It's just, like, they're trying so hard to just live their life that they're like, there's gotta be...
I do not have time to deal with this.
Meanwhile, the kids are like, come on! So during this time, Alan is working on converting their basement into more of a usable space. It's unfinished, so he's, like, painting, adding carpet and stuff like that to kind of make it maybe like a man cave. Somewhere where you can just hang out. But then he's, like, in the middle of painting the basement, and he takes a break to go have lunch or something, and when he comes back, he finds that his paintbrush has been turned upside down in the can so that the handle is, like, in the paint. Which seems so, like, innocent, but it's one of those things where...
You wouldn't do that.
Right, and he was talking about that in Unsolved Mystery. He's like, I wouldn't have done that. Like, it's just... Why? It would never have occurred to me to put the handle in my paint. So that happened, and then... He kind of went back to painting, and then he kind of noticed out of the corner of his eye this, like, shadow kind of growing towards him. But when he looked, nothing was there. But that kind of altogether weirded him out enough that he stopped working on the basement for a few weeks. Until it kind of got off his mind, and then he went back to work on it, and as he went downstairs, he realized there was just this massive cold draft in the basement, just really bad. And it's like a full underground basement, so there shouldn't really be a draft. But he found that, like, the little basement window had been pushed in so that the window was just laying unbroken on the basement floor.
Ooh.
And it's just, like, the glass didn't shatter or anything. It was just pushed from the outside in.
And then, like,
yeah, and, like, there was no evidence that anybody had tampered with it, but, like, he just assumed, which is a smart assumption, that someone did it on purpose, like it was a prank or somebody tried to break in, but they didn't do anything. So I assume they just fixed the window and kind of move on.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of stuff for a new house that you probably weren't expecting to have happen.
No, it kind of reminds me of the Poltergeist.
Right, yeah, it's
scenario.
a lot like that. So it's now the fall of 1987, and this is when the activity begins to really start taking form. The family watches as a door flies open by itself. Marianne runs screaming from her room, shouting about seeing fire in it. Alan and Debbie began to believe something otherworldly is happening, but they're not quite ready to voice their suspicions. Despite her silence, though, Debbie's starting to feel like there's something evil in the house. The youngest daughter, Sarah, starts screaming in the middle of the night and running into her parents' room, claiming there's a fire in her room. The witch still makes nightly appearances, and despite Alan and Debbie keeping the tale from their son, Danny, he begins to wake up in the night to find the witch watching him. Danny describes the witch as glowing like fire, which is interesting because I don't think he knew about the stories
with the daughter.
But he starts seeing the same thing, and maybe he verbalizes it slightly better than the 2-year-old did too.
Yeah.
So this is kind of when they start to accept that their house might actually be haunted. They turn to the local pastor, Wayne Dobratz, and he believes to this day that the Tallman entity was demonic in nature. And
There go them Catholics.
Well, this is him speaking.
I believe that my initial analysis of the entity being in the spiritual realm, the occult realm, the demonic, if you will, was accurate. And I still believe it's accurate.
So, and you just said it, I feel like it's important to explain that Wayne was a Lutheran pastor. So they probably did need a Catholic, because shit did not improve after he visited.
Probably got worse.
Yeah, he basically walked in and he's like, yeah, this is not good. And they left, pretty much.
Gotta say that Latin.
Yeah, no, he was like, oh, it feels real bad here. It feels real off.
Good luck, best of luck.
Pretty much. He's like, peace, guys. Peace and love. I don't know what else to tell you. So, near Christmas time, the Tallmans were reaching the breaking point. The activity was increasing, visions and voices were plaguing the kids, and in a rage, Alan yelled at the entity, saying, if you want to fight, fight me. Good call. The spirit listened. So, in the days following, Alan was confronted by a red-eyed, shadowy figure staring at him from the other end of the hallway.
Shit.
So, like, it left the room, and it's, like, watching him. Like, it's like, you said fight. I'm here, bitch.
Yep.
Square up. The activity further targets Alan, though, in January of 1988. So they've been here, like, almost, over a year for sure.
Yeah, because you said they moved in 1986. So
so about 2 years almost. So he returns from work around 2 a.m., and there's this eerie howling that just starts up, but, like, it's not wind. Like, he could tell there wasn't wind happening, but it's like this very targeted, specific wind just blowing around his house, like to the side yard almost. And then this fog kind of starts spilling out from around it too. So he follows this howl into the side yard where it grows stronger. And as Alan follows it, it starts manifesting this voice that whispers, "Come here." So he tries to walk away.
Yeah.
Because that's creepy.
Yeah.
But whenever he tries to walk away, the voice would call him back. So Alan pauses long enough to look at his garage, and it's on fire. Like, the whole garage, there's just fire bursting out of the little windows. And he kind of just panics, because he's like, what the fuck, my family's in the house. So he runs back in the house, locks the door, and then he's like, wait, what am I doing? My garage is on fire. He opens the door, goes back outside, looks at the garage, it's totally fine. Nothing's happening. So he goes back inside, tries to act like everything's normal. He goes to pick up his lunchbox, and suddenly something just grabs it, throws the lunchbox across the room, and he just freaks. Like, there's a clip from his wife where she's describing him, and I'll just play it just so you can hear, like, what she's saying.
He came home that night, and he was just running around the room. I mean, literally running. He ran in the bedroom, ran around the bed.
Yeah, she's just running around in a panic. It's like, so this happened, and he, like, snapped. He's like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is just crazy. So he's full in now. He's like, there's something here. So Alan begins to sleep in the bedroom with his daughters, hoping to protect them from what he was seeing. He would sleep on their floor, and each night he'd see this fog floating, like, on the top of the floor, just hovering above it. And once a red-eyed figure came with that fog, and it would just sit in it. And the kind of shift was when there was the fog and the figure, and then it said, "You're dead." It's just like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
So they called Pastor Wayne back, and, you know, essentially the pastor just confirmed what they were saying. He's like, yeah, I've heard about this shit.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good. Not good, guys.
And I don't know if you know this, their neighbors didn't have any issues or...
Nothing that was mentioned.
Yeah.
It almost feels a lot like a Sally House type story where this happens, but it seems like isolated to the family, which I guess in the Sally House they did have the neighbor comment on it, but nobody said anything.
Right.
Which is just at least nothing that they've reported. Mm-hmm. So Pastor Wayne goes, which they do have recordings from him. He was on the Unsolved Mysteries episode, so he can at least corroborate that, like, this happened. He didn't necessarily encounter any of it, though. He just heard what they said and was like, creepy, yeah, oof.
Yeah, sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you. Bye, guys. But there was somebody who did have an experience at the house that wasn't part of the Tallman family. Well, the immediate family. Because a relative came to stay with them to sleep in the kids' room because Alan, I think, had to work late. So they were like, we need somebody in this room to protect the girls in case something happens. But the relative wakes up and he sees the shadowy red-eyed specter watching over him. And he just fucking runs, just screaming out of the room. He leaves the kids. So Debbie freaks out. She runs in to get all the kids, and they fucking go that night. Like, they're done.
Yeah.
They leave the house. And, you know, that's it. Like...
And they never, like, went back to the house after that, or?
So they're moving out. They move out, and they make sure that the bunk bed is destroyed. Like, they burn it, because literally the activity did not start until they put the bunk bed together.
Zach Bagans is really upset that he can't have that bunk
bed. Yeah, they burned that bunk bed.
Museum.
Yeah. So the Tallman family didn't know if the entity that had tormented them for over a year could follow them from their once dream house, but they had to escape. And to this day, the Tallmans have never had an encounter like the one they had in that house.
Wild.
And the family that moved into the home after them never reported any incidents.
I was gonna ask, like, is the house, like, still staying, you know?
Yeah.
That's
no one else encountered anything.
What a haunted bunk? That is so crazy. Like,
yeah, like, you'd never think of it.
Especially, like, that's not just haunted. That's, like, straight up.
Yeah, it's like...
I don't even know.
And I kind of, it's difficult to say for certain, like, if an item can be haunted, because usually we talk about, like, trinkets or dolls, but a bunk bed just seems so harmless.
Right, like, I feel like that would have had to have been intentionally, like, attached, like some kind of, which it was a satanic panic, which a lot of that was panic, but, I don't know, someone actually, a witch...
Right.
Like someone doing some witchcraft that they didn't understand.
Yeah, and is it possible for a bed to be cursed? Why would anybody put a curse on a piece of furniture that's supposed to be used by kids?
Unless it's like they wanted to curse like some ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend that like slept in a bed like that and then they donated that bed and...
So they cursed an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend who slept in a bunk bed?
Yeah.
I think that alone was a curse.
Yeah.
So was it an intentional curse, or like was the bed carved from some sort of haunted material, like?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like some
like wood from one of your haunted forests,
right?
Or did someone die in the bed?
Oh, and their spirit like attached.
Yeah, like that seems more likely than somebody purposely haunting a bunk bed.
But then it's curious, like with the burned, like did the spirit or entity or whatever like go with it or? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's kind of, which is interesting because if the kids were seeing fire, maybe it was telling them to burn it. Maybe it wanted to be released. That's an interest. I didn't think about that.
I mean, I guess if you looked up, what are some witchcraft spells where you trap an entity and it's released by fire?
I thought you were going to say specifically spells to trap something in a bunk bed.
That's definitely in a grimoire.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be mine if I ever put one together. The bunk bed haunting spell.
Just step-by-step instructions.
Go to your local IKEA today. Well, considering the house was new and the haunting started only after the bed was constructed, it's the most likely suspect, which really makes you wonder about the stuff you grab at the thrift store. Like, we specifically go to find stuff that looks haunted, but what if the most innocuous pieces end up being something malicious? And I was just thinking about that when we got in this room. Like, you have pieces of furniture that are so old.
Yeah.
And they're just chilling in here, and I'm like, it was a kind of, you were talking about it, I was like, this is a good conversation for my episode I've got coming out.
This could be haunted beds from the 1800s.
Yeah, no, I need to sleep over sometime and just sleep in it and let you know if I find anything, if anything happens. There are, like, a few theories on what kind of entity it could be. Like, the haunting does follow the general stages of demonic infestation. It's got manifestation, oppression, all of the things. I don't remember all the full stages, but...
Yeah, that's been a while.
Yeah. Because a lot of it, like, I know it starts small, it's got to get in your head, it starts affecting your body, and then it affects your mind, and all the things. And that's kind of what the Lutheran priest was pastor was thinking, but they don't really deal in demons that much, to my knowledge, so that was probably just the 80s talking. Right. Most likely. So there's that. I mean, maybe it could be a demon. The descriptions were very demonic. Yeah. Maybe the demon was bound to the bunk bed via some sort of ritual. Right. Worst demon hunt ever.
Yeah, like you
I'm
are
the
trapped.
demon of the bunk bed.
He is definitely a lesser demon that, like, they played tricks on. Yeah. Like, he was pranked.
Oh my god, that is a story there. He totally wanted them to burn the bed on purpose so he could eat cooler.
Like, please, like, give me. This is some fucking bullshit. Bob, put me up to this.
How long was he in that bed? Oh my god. So, poltergeist activity could also explain some of this, but some of the more frightening apparitions don't really fit the bill. Poltergeists are known to be like the noisy ghosts. They're loud. Right. They don't usually appear visually. They kind of just make noise and ruckus and throw things. You don't usually see them. And additionally, poltergeists are created by people and their energy, not by items. They can't be tied to an item. Yeah. So, burning an item and leaving wouldn't do it any good. It's going to go with you.
But I feel like this was a lot more like visual, like seeing things.
Lots of seeing things.
Or like not even just seeing the figure, but like seeing the fire.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of it was visual.
Yeah, which is crazy.
So, I mean, I guess that kind of just begs the question of, like, was it the house? Was it the bed? Or did the family somehow invent its own nightmare? It's kind of...
Never know.
Yeah. But that is the haunting of the Tallman Bunk beds.
I've never heard that one.
I never had either, and then when I saw it, I was like, I gotta talk about this. That's why I didn't want to tell you. I was like, it's not like the craziest story ever, but the concept is really interesting with the bunk beds, and I saw it's supposed to be like the big box kind of, because it's a haunted item. Right. Haunted object, and it's just like, it's a weird one.
It is, yeah. That is.
Yeah, it's a good, like, classic late 80s ghost story.
Mm-hmm. I know, I feel like they need, like, a support group, like the Tallmans, the Pickmans.
They totally
do. I'm sure there's others that I'm
Did you buy a house in the late 80s and were haunted?
Yeah, what was the Conjuring? What was their name?
Shit.
The family?
I don't remember.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but yeah.
All the families in the 80s, essentially.
Yeah.
They all got haunted. What were they doing? The economy was too good. They had to be fucked up somehow.
Right? Yeah. You need a support group.
We do. We're just, that's a future sticker. 1980s family support group.
Yeah.
For the terribly haunted family trying to start. Did your husband get obsessed with the basement and try to kill you? We've got a group for that. Oh my god. Yeah, because that's literally like every movie, which does beg the question, like, okay, is this real or is everybody just jumping on the bandwagon? The Unsolved Mystery Show was invented, so this kind of like.
But like, how much money would you really get? Like, let's go down
not
the
any.
let's go down the hoax theory. Like, is that the kind of attention you want? And then, like, I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe you get paid a little bit to be on the show, but not.
Yeah, not enough to like be worth.
Right, it's worth the time
But I mean, maybe money's not what people want. Maybe they just want the attention. I don't know.
Yeah, but why would you want that? And then you would think, like, I don't know, maybe you have to move out of the home to keep selling it, but then, like, you've been through it. Moving is a bitch.
True, yeah.
So, like, I don't know.
You don't want to just move willy-nilly, like, 2 years later.
Right.
And especially, like, they had to have lost money. Like,
right, exactly. So
I never know in those situations, like, it would take so fucking much for me to move out of a house.
Yeah. Which is probably why at first they were like,
yeah, not real, not happening.
No. It's like everyone's like, what's the Arrested Development quote where she's like, I do not understand the question and I will not respond to it.
Yeah.
Or why? That might be messed up to quote a little bit.
I don't know, but those are the vibes. Just like, nope, not happening.
I will not respond to this.
There's been a series of videos I've seen on TikTok where it's like when the house is hella haunted but the rent is good, so you just learn to live with it. Yeah. It's just like, I saw one today where the guy's like, yeah, I started taking showers outside because the drain's really mean. I'll show you. And he like takes him to the bathroom and the drain's like, you're a little bitch. And he's like, yeah, it's just gonna get worse. You just gotta go. And then like the kitchen cabinets are opening and closing and stuff. And he's like, I learned a trick for this. You just gotta sneak up. You got a roll of tape and he closes it. And he's like, and see, now I can't do it. And he's like, shit, I didn't get my coffee cup. It's just stuff like that. And I'm like, I could see me doing that. Just, you learn to hack the ghost so you can still live in your house. God, I thought this was going to be long and it was shorter.
I think we did more chit chat. Well, I was so interested in your story.
Well,
I didn't want to
I
didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to hear the story. I wanted to see where it was going, so I didn't interject very much. You did.
I didn't do my ADHD like squirrel trails.
Well, no, because you were the one talking. Yeah,
I feel like the episodes when I speak are always faster because you listen and you're like, oh, okay, and then you have related comments. Meanwhile, I'm like, what the fuck is this pygmy? What is this? 5 hours later, it's a tree. So, episodes where I am the listener are probably the ones people are like, oh my god.
No, those are some of my favorites.
Probably needs less caffeine in her life.
Yeah.
Not more.
No. We've had the episodes where we have both been not caffeinated enough and they're boring. I forget which episode it was. We totally re-recorded the whole thing because we were like, oh my god, we sound...
We listened to it like, hi.
This is Remnants. Today we're talking about...
ghosts and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think it might have been our Pythian Castle episode, but I don't know. It was a long time ago.
We're so sad. So very sad.
So, oh my god,
that lightning keeps scaring me.
That's like intense lightning out my window.
Can't wait. It's finally my turn to drive home late at night in the shitty weather.
At least you don't have to drive down the street where all the deer hang out.
True.
Like, literally, that just is like a deer posse. They'd be on the side of the sidewalk, like, watching you, like, sup.
So I think the deer there are mildly depressed, and they're like, today's the day.
I'm going to run in front of you.
End it all. They just jump out there. They're real bad.
They are, yeah. So I don't miss driving on that street.
Well, I guess that's it for tonight. I have a storm to drive into, so...
Yeah, I guess I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Stay spooky.
And stay curious.